It's 6 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum and it has duly been called, and I would like for you all to please stand and welcome the NJROTC candidate cadets. Michaela Broad and Justin Rula are going to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commander Hale and Justin, Michaela, please.
Good evening.
All that jingling and jangling you got going on there.
We had a historic year in the ROTC program this year. I came and spoke to you when the USS Arkansas was here, and that was just the beginning of our adventures this year. We just got back from all high school nationals for the first time ever. We were invited to compete against Army and Air Force and other nations at all high school nationals. We won a 5th place trophy, but the fact that we were even there is a testament to how this program has grown. Proud of all my cadets, but these two standing next to me, if I can say it without crying, because proud papa moment.
That's nice.
They are above and beyond, and they have been awarded the Navy National ROTC Scholarship. Michaela's going to the University of Missouri. Justin is going to the University of Oklahoma. They've been awarded, between the two of them, over $500,000 in scholarships, and they're going on to be
Amazing.
naval officers. I'll let them talk about their future plans, but they're going to college on the Navy's dime, and it's a testament to the hard work and dedication they put into the JROTC program, and they're taking it on to the next level, the college ROTC program, and they're going to be the future leaders of the United States Navy. So,
Wow.
Justin, you're going to go ahead and tell them what you want to do after you get out of college.
So I'm going to be a naval aviator, hopefully, as long as I get picked. I'm going to the University of Oklahoma. I'm going to study mechanical engineering. Just going to hopefully give it my best shot at being an aviator. Then after that, I'm going to do at least 20 years in the Navy, and hopefully I'll command an aircraft carrier. So pretty much all I had for my future plans, while I'm in the military.
Gee.
That's it?
That's all?
Well, I plan on being
Disappointed.
in for a while, but I'm going to open up a bunch of franchises, and I'm going to be a businessman after. So.
Boomer? What is it? Boomer? Sooner?
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to do that. You know, Blakey there, Oklahoma.
So I found out about my scholarship about 3 weeks ago. I'm going to the University of Missouri to study biomedical engineering because my long-term goal is to be a radiologist. Whether that's in the Navy or not, I have yet to find out or figure out, but I'm just going wherever this takes me. My goal, if I carry through all 4 years, is to be a naval NFO and
What's that mean?
a naval flight officer and see wherever it takes me.
Great.
Good for you, Ryan.
That's impressive. Thank you so much. Very proud of you. All right. Gee, follow that with an approval of the agenda and minutes of the April 17th, 18th, May 6th, 2024 meetings.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda and the minutes of the April 17th, 18th, and 16th meetings. I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Unanimous. Thank you. We have some awards.
We do.
This is always an exciting month.
It is. So it is my pleasure to introduce, and I'm going to come to her, our Richard Pageant Extra Mile Award recipient, Miss Elizabeth Jones. Miss Elizabeth Jones, I'm just going to read a few quotes from her coworkers. First of all, I want y'all to know she's one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. She shows up every day. She gets her work done and then goes around to help others. Her great personality and sense of humor make her a kid favorite. What truly sets Elizabeth apart is her remarkable tenure of 27 years in food service
Man.
in Mountain Home Public Schools. Throughout her career, she has consistently displayed a strong work ethic, reliability, and is a genuine person for her role. Her dedication to serving the Hackler cafeteria community has been unwavering, and she is an integral part of this team. This is a personal favorite. She does every aspect She is versatile in all areas. Even through the hardest times, she's come with a smile on her face. When she's needed to be at work, to open up, no hesitation, she's there. She keeps everyone going with her positive attitude, her laugh, her smile, and her love for all kids. And this award was voted on by her peers, and that is all 250 employees had an
Wow.
opportunity to vote for this award, all classified employees. Mr. Mary, I believe, would like to say a little something.
Yeah, so I prepared this one so I didn't go off cuff. I often do. So bear with me, the year was 1995. Oklahoma City bombing happened with Timothy McVeigh. Michael Jordan returned to the NBA. DVDs were invented. PlayStation hit the U.S. hard. OJ was acquitted. And Miss Elizabeth took a job in Mountain Public Schools. She started at the high school where she worked for a couple of months and then went to Nelson Wilkes. She then transferred over to Hackler when Hackler opened and has been there ever since. Her favorite parts of working in the kitchen, and she loves it even today, is to see the kids, to give them a hug at lunchtime. And she really likes it when she sees the kids out in the grocery stores and they say, "Hey, you're my lunch lady." And even better, we have a warehouse driver that used to go to school here and remembers going through where she was a lunch lady. Nobody better could have gotten this award. I'm very thankful.
So this award does come with a check as well.
Mm.
She'll get that soon. And we're just super proud of you, and we do need to take a Can I get Lisa? Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was my fault. Perfect. Thank you.
Just quickly before you go on to the next one.
Yes, sir.
I want to, the food that's later was prepared by Kitchens tonight, and Samantha Harden is the manager over at Pinkston. Roberto is over at junior high, and Kim couldn't be here, and she's at the high school. But they prepared all the food that will be eaten later. I wanted to just acknowledge them.
Thank you,
and then
thank you,
release them
thank you.
because they have kids and families.
Yes, release the hound.
Yes, absolutely. But
Thank you for dinner. Thank you.
They get to work for like.
All right,
Let's
so
see, I
we
get
have
to
another
swim
award.
at Nelson
Ms.
Wilkes.
Hoffman, do you want to sit or do you want to come up here?
Come on. This is a big one.
Come on, I'm being pushed.
Yeah.
I don't And 50% your points?
50% of my points are here.
All right, so Mountain Home Public Schools, 24-25 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Sandra Hoffman. Actually, she helped write this, so it's not going to be too
I
bad.
helped write it?
I think you wrote it. It's your, Sandra Hoffman has 31 years in her career at Mountain Public Schools.
I started in 1984
1984.
Wow.
because I took 9 years off to raise
Her family.
my boys.
50%. She currently teaches 4th grade literacy and social studies, but taught kindergarten and 2nd grade. She is certified in every single program that this district has ever asked teachers to try and be involved in. 20 years researching and experiencing with best teaching practice. Sandra said that watching a child learn is always a thrill, but seeing how they get there through casual and more structured conversation, like Socratic seminars, that's where she's seen the most growth in her learners. Sandra loves being able to teach alongside and peek in on many of her past students. Sandra said, "I feel like the luckiest girl in the world to have been able to spend my days doing what I absolutely love and storing of a lifetime of wonderful memories and friendships in the district." So, she has 4 bombers that have graduated. 2, 3 chosen daughters. She is Lily to 4 grandchildren who, along with her faith, bring her blessings of joy. She is one of the 2 people in the Mount Home Public School District that have had all 3 Deweys.
I'm gonna love your girls.
I can tell you, this lady has blessed thousands of families, thousands when you think about the number of children, times 2 parents. It gets up there pretty quick. So thank you for blessing Mount Home Public Schools. Don't ever leave us. We love you.
Don't we need those boys to come up here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, boys.
Come on, boys.
I know.
They're all grown up now.
They are.
Okay.
1,
Suck it in.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you.
Honor was chosen by the certified staff, and she also will receive a check in reward for her accomplishment.
Wow, Coach Husky, how are you going to follow up with that? Well, this is pretty large too. This is just large
fun
May.
night.
He's not
Large
getting a
in
check.
charge May. I guess he doesn't want to, I don't know. Where did he go? He ran away. He's got to go get the boys.
Bring the boys in.
So this is for the state championship boys track team. And they just ran in. These are the ones we dodge on the road. Make sure we don't hit them.
Coaches, come on up here.
Well, I'm going to be quick, and I'm going to turn this over to Coach Norris, but this is our first ever boys track state championship.
Wow.
You know, going to school here and then also becoming a coach and then athletic director, you know, I've witnessed quite a few, you know, state runner-ups and state championships. But that day these guys competed, it was special. It was different. It kind of was a little bit above all the other ones to me, and they're all special. But this was the one, and I've said this a few times, that I've had many people across the state, even some of our own, that said this wasn't achievable. And these guys did it. So I'm going to turn this over to Coach Norris.
All right, bear with me. I've got a lot of credit to give to a lot of people. So first off, Coach Chagnon will be speaking today, but he and Coach Tilda Helgeson are at the decathlon and heptathlon with a couple of our other athletes. So I think they just got on the road and they're headed back from Searcy. So we're trying to stand in and do our best to represent them, you know, as well. But I think I want to lead off just by saying that, I mean, these kids went out and competed hard and did all the things right, you know, for the season, or some of them for years, to go out and be able to achieve something like this. And we're very proud of them, not just for being good and competing and winning something, but you know, for being great young men. You know, learning, I think, a lot of valuable lessons along the way, and having some fun too. You know, in the pursuit of a collective goal. So I think kind of want to go through. You know, in order to win a track state championship, there are a lot of events. So there are a total of, let me make sure I get this right. So we got 12, 18 events in high school track. And an equal number of points is available in each of those events. So it takes a lot of people to go out and win a state title. And many of those events take time to get good at. You know, our track program begins in 7th grade. And, you know, I'll kind of start there. Lewis Bishop was there for, man, I don't know how many years.
Ever.
He was my track coach and my sister's track coach. And but man, that guy did his job with a lot of passion and never dropped off for I don't know 30 years, something like that. And so I think a lot of credit is due to him just for getting our kids started and you know, having a program to feed into the next level. You know, Freddie Pinka, I think, deserves a lot of credit there too. He coached along with Lewis for a very long time. Without those guys, I mean, who knows where, you know, our program would be. Tom Martin and Darren Acklin are kind of, filling those positions now that those guys have retired. So we really appreciate them. Got Coach Philip Goodwin, who was the head coach for a long time, was my head track coach, or my track coach back in high school. Coach Clint Peverell, been in the program and involved, just retired this last year. He's had a huge impact on all of us, including a lot of athletes here across multiple different events, and especially as coaches. Coach Allman, been around for a few years now, done a lot of great things. Let's see, Coach Helgeson or Coach Tilda, set at this point too many sprint school records to count. These guys have done big things in this last year. And then Coach Chagnon, our long jump and triple jump coach, we also just call our CEO, because man, it takes a lot to run day-to-day operations and plan and make sure everybody has what they need in track. So he's kind of the brains behind the operation of just making sure that everyone is taken care of. We couldn't do what we've done the past 3 years without him. Just some fun statistics. The last 2 years, we were runner-up at state. Prior to that, in school history, we were only runner-up one time. That was back in 2000. And that year in 2000, not to take anything away from them, but they lost by 90 points. The last 2 years, we lost by 7 points and 11.5 points. This year, we won by 20.
Wow. Out of 18.
So, kind of another cool thing. I could rattle off a lot of names, but I won't do that. But there are quite a few, past graduates and alumni that have been this close, the last 2 years, and they deserve a lot of credit as well, kind of for showing, these guys and us coaches that it was something that was achievable. Because we really, probably until about 3 years ago, didn't realize that it was achievable to go out and win a state title as mountain home in track. So. Kind of in conclusion, we're really, really proud of our guys. We're excited to see what our returners do next year. We're not just proud of them for winning, but just for being great young men. And as far as the credit goes, there's a million people that deserve a lot of credit. And we couldn't have achieved this without the cooperation and teamwork of a lot of athletes, past coaches, present coaches, etc. So thank you guys for recognizing our kids. And thanks for having us.
We got to hear their names. They can start it off.
Yeah,
Please.
I'm Hendrix Hughes. I'm a senior. I've been doing track for my whole life since I was in 7th grade, and so I was a part of those two state runner-up teams. And I also do cross country. Been doing cross country my whole life too, and so it's just really good to be a part of a very good, blessed team like we are, and a good way to end it. So thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm Trenton Smith. I am a sophomore, and I've been on this team since my 8th grade year. I've been running both cross country and track. I gotta say, I love being here, and I can't wait to see for the next following years.
My name is Garrett Barr. I'm a sophomore, and running track and cross country, it's brought a lot of friendship. It's a lot of fun.
I'm Eli Jones. I'm a junior. I was the state champ in shot put this year. It was a lot of fun to compete and get to win with these guys, and hopefully we can do it again next year.
Conference state record in shot put too.
Oh, wow.
I'm Kate Transos. I'm a senior. As part of the 4A team, I also went cross country. And it's, couldn't be done without this great team of guys and great coaches. So thank you guys for honoring us.
I'm Connor King. I'm a junior, and I've been doing track and cross country since 7th grade. And winning this track title was very exciting. And I'm very proud of everyone I've competed with and my coaches, and can't wait for next year.
I'm Tyler Lukac. I'm a sophomore. I've been doing track and cross country since my 8th grade year, and I'd just like to say that I'm so happy that we have this team. They're all my family, and I'm just so happy that they're my teammates.
I'm William Hill. I'm a senior. I've ran track for 5 years, cross country for 4, and it was nice to win.
I'm Jalen Peterson. I'm a sophomore, and I've just do triple and long jump really, and high jump, and it's been fun.
I'm Barrett Miller, and I play football and run track. I'm very thankful for our distance team.
My name is Connor Schultz. This is my second year running track, and I'm just really glad to be part of this community.
My name's David Baxley. I'm a senior. I've been running track since 7th grade, but for this team since I moved here. But it's just nice to finally win, especially with this team.
My name's Anthony Billborn. Been a part of this team since my sophomore year, and I gotta say thank you to these guys for finally giving us a.
My name is Levi Uchman. I'm a senior. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
That's very proud. It's a great accomplishment. Off the top of your head, this might be a trick question, but what's the grade point average? That's a tough one. I know we always do really well with our athletes. Like as a group? Three, okay. Fantastic. So we're not just athletes, we're also brilliant, and I thank you for that. So we're losing 4 seniors?
Anthony, too.
5?
Dover too.
Dover's not here. That's right, 6. Okay. You better go start recruiting some guys. Come on. We'll win it next year too, right? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, gentlemen, well done. Right, the fact that the runner-up, we got there, state champions. That goes to show that dedication that y'all put in day after day after day. So seniors, great way to end up. We've already had said, fantastic job. Juniors, underclassmen, y'all have had a fantastic culture built now for y'all to carry forward. So really, really excited to see where we continue on with this. So well done, gentlemen.
And I'm usually more concerned about value than I am cost. So it was tough to spend a lot of money on that pole vault thing and the new track thing. But you proved value. I mean, every penny, well worth it. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'd like to add one more
Yep.
thing on that. One person I didn't thank is Coach Husky and obviously the school board and everybody that does support us. I know we're not a cheap sport, and there's all kinds of specialized this and that we need all the time to give our kids what they need, to continue to improve and, achieve what they're capable of doing. And so we don't at all take it for granted that we get the things that we need. We are very appreciative of that support.
Thank you for that. That means a lot. Thank you. Go eat something, because you're all skinny.
Well done.
Thank you. I'm just jealous. That's what it is. Okay, district librarians, can you follow that? I don't know. There goes half of our people.
We taught them all that.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for allowing us to come this month. We apologize for missing out last month, but we had something arise that we needed to postpone for a month, and we appreciate you allowing us to come because we know it's busy. We just wanted to come and share a little bit about what's going on in our different libraries. You can go to the next slide. Okay. Hold on, I'm not able to. I'll go ahead and talk and
Yeah, go ahead and talk.
I'll talk about one of our last slides. We know the push for our community and with Learns is PLC and professional learning groups, and we want to thank our district for allowing us to have the professional learning community that you give us time each month to have. It's very rare, we have found in our library communities, that most districts do not allow that. We are on an island, so we're the only person at each school that is in the field that we're at, which isolates us a lot, and not having a peer to go to, at our school sometimes is difficult. So when we're allowed to have that time together each month, that you also graciously work out. Mr. Rose and Miss Dewey have become some librarians this year and allowing us to be able to do that.
It is not easy. It's not easy.
Our work is a lot of behind the scenes that is just, it's, you know, people don't understand exactly what all we do in a day that isn't always in our job description. So we truly appreciate that. So just a few facts about our libraries throughout from K through 12. We have a total of 62,000 items, over 62,000 items for our students and staff to access, which is graciously given with you all allowing us to have a budget that allows us to update our libraries and keep those maintained. We combined checkout, the items checked out through just this year, and this statistic was through April, was 48,000 items that we've had come through our libraries, and that it was an increase from 3,000 more from the previous year. So our students are reading, they are accessing our libraries more and more. So we wanted to put that out there, that we appreciate the funding that you guys continuously put into the importance of reading and providing all of the resources that our libraries can give our students.
That's a lot to keep up with, 48,000 pieces.
So now we're going to highlight just a program and what we've done at each school this year.
So kindergarten, we use our resources around us. So the sixth graders from Ms. Corrales and Ms. Perryman's honors classes have been coming down to the kindergarten and helping us out a little bit. They came 3 times this year, and hopefully we can do that more in the coming years. First semester was probably their hardest task. They were given the task to explain what Veterans Day is to kindergartners. And knowing it's a holiday, but it's one that you don't get presents and you don't go to Nana's house for a big lunch. What do? You know, it's a holiday. What do you do? So they were given that task. They read picture books. They presented posters. They sat down and talked about each branch of like the Navy, Army, Navy, Air Force, military, thank you. Each branch of the military. But they explained all of those things so that the kids could understand. And hearing it from a kid helps them understand a little bit better. So that was probably their hardest task. Their last task was they had to create a picture book to read to the kids. And that was definitely hard too, because kindergartners are not forgiving. They're brutal. And if they stumbled or if they didn't explain their character very well, the kindergartners would say, well, what's your character's name? You never did tell me his name. So that really helped out with their creativity side, and it helped the kindergartners with their listening skills also. So we hope that next year we're going to add to that even more. So.
My name is Cheryl Human. I'm at Nelson Wilkes Heron. And so I have a few statistics I guess I want to show you. My main focus this year was reading challenges, because I'm on the Guiding Coalition, and I kind of recognize that we don't spend enough time with independent reading and also reading longer text. And so I decided to focus on, and this was just second graders who can read better independently. And they didn't have to. Their parents could read to them as well, which is important too. But I did some reading challenges. I kind of started with one, and I thought, let me do another one just to keep them reading. So I had 70 second graders participate in all of those. And then I did some surveys with my students, and I said, what is your favorite thing about the library? And you would think they would say technology, or the library learning station, STEM, things like that. And almost every one of them said checking out a book. And even when I have classes for 50 minutes, and so if I get my lesson kind of going long, they always stop me and say, are we not checking out books today? I mean, that's what they love to do. I mean, they still want a book in their hand. They want to go find a book. And I just think that's exciting. That's what's special about my age too, because first and second graders are learning to read and starting to read more independently, and they're excited about reading. And like as they get older, you're trying to get them into the library. And so I have some that are literally in there every day checking out books. And so I circulated, and I do think this helped with the reading challenge, over 18,000 books this year,
Wow.
which was very good. It was much more than typically. I mean, I do a lot anyway, but that was, wow, it wowed me. The next slide I have. So the reading challenge, I did a fall, and it was a book bingo card. And so they had to read 24 different kinds of books. And you'll notice that I have on there Dog Man. That was the #1 book in our library this year. And that's good for my boys, and it's okay, but I really want them to venture out and get different genres and different books. And so when we did these, they had to read various books, not just one kind of book. And so that gets them interested in reading other books as well that they didn't know were in the library. And so that was the hardest one because I did have to do 24, but they did have 2 months. And then I did a winter challenge. We learned the Dewey Decimal, locating books in the library. And so they had to read a book from each category of the Dewey Decimal System, which was only 10, so that wasn't too bad. And that helped them also dive into the Dewey and read different kinds of, and it's nonfiction, which is improving vocabulary. And in the spring, I did Joe Brighton's 7 genre dudes. And that was only 8, but 8 different kinds of books, different genres. So it pretty much made them move all around the library reading different ones. So I have a group here of second graders that are dear to my heart. They did every reading challenge.
Wow.
I mean, they just stepped up to the challenge, and they were very dedicated. Emmett on the right, he even did the Mensa challenge. And I don't know if you're aware of that, but that's very difficult. I mean, he finished that the first semester. I've never had that. And so I was just like amazed that he could finish all of those. So I was very proud of him. Next year I hope to do another challenge and keep adding to it and getting more community involvement, and maybe doing like a field trip. And so my students who did the reading challenges got a job at the book fair. And so they were able to help at the book fair as well.
How fun. That's a good award.
Yes.
Did they know how to say genre? It took me till last year to learn that word.
They learned those as well.
That's fantastic.
We are just finishing mine, so I'm just gonna lean on this podium. We just finished, no, it was fun. Happily read all the same book. We did The Lemonade War by Jacqueline Davies. We started it, we did 13 days. We started at the beginning of May. We actually started the first day of testing. And I know you're thinking, well, that wasn't a very good idea. Well, actually, it was great because in the afternoon, when the teachers were like wiped out, the kids were wiped out. We had readers every day. They had a video of a reader reading a chapter of the book. And so they had some kind of light activities. During the testing, we had the coloring contest. You can see our amazing winners. And so that was something that they could do. Actually, after they tested, that was one of the things we got approved to do if they finished early, and then they finished those in the afternoon. The second week, we had a scavenger hunt, and they all had to look for little pieces, little lemonade stands and little different things. And we did that the second week. The third week, we did trivia. So every day on the announcements, they got a chance to answer trivia questions and go into a drawing for a major prize. And then yesterday we finished the book, and we actually had a Zoom meeting with the author. They all, except for 2 classes, everybody participated, and it was just, they were amazed. And I tell you what, we were amazed, because it was awesome that we got to see her, and they got to put a face to the lady, and she got to talk about the book. But the questions that they asked, Mrs. Goodwin was just, and all of us were amazed at the questions that they asked. They were really higher level questions. We were really proud. And then Lemonade Day, we also had Lemonade Day in the morning. Yesterday, we served lemonade to all 9
million
trillion kids that we have. No, it was great. They all got a bottle of lemonade and a little packet, and they got a bendy straw. They didn't care really, you know, they were
That's
good
great.
with the lemonade, but they thought the bendy straws were awesome. So, it was amazing. It was a great opportunity, for us to do something as a group. And the thing that I like the most, if you look at some of our readers up there, Mayor Adams came, John Montgomery came, we had a fireman, a policeman. I mean, and they really loved that. They really loved the, you know, the big people read too. And my favorite, of course, was Coach Webb, and he brought Isabella.
Oh.
And so, yes, it was a great activity. And then, yeah, that's when Mrs. Goodwin said, I can't wait for next year. I can't either. Yeah, it was a great activity, I gotta tell you.
I want to go back to school.
And we have brought, tonight, we brought, I'll pass these out. These are, so this is a montage of some of the gifts that we had. The scavenger hunt, they got a little cup of different things, but the scavenger hunt one, or the trivia one day was the little bud cakes. And then some of our readers got actual little lemonade jars with some of these candies. So this is a montage of lemonade, yes, and of course lemonade left over from lemonade, so.
All right.
Yes,
I love
we brought
lemonade.
one of those for everybody.
Lemon is very good for you. Did you know that? Lemon's good for your health. Vitamin C. Oh, thanks. Thank you for that.
Thanks, ma'am.
I'm Karen Johnson. I am the media specialist at Kingston Middle School. And this year, our students, 6th and 7th grade, we kind of challenged them a little bit to reading books of their choice. And what the program did, what we did, I met with the literacy teachers and myself, and we got together and we came up with, it was called Racing to Reading. And I bought punch cards, and the students, after they finished reading a book, they would come into the library and they would tell me a summary, or if they felt more comfortable, they could write the summary down and bring it in and I would read it. But they would have to bring in the book, they'd have to tell me the book title, the author's name, and then they would give me a short summary. This was in April. We had, I think, 88 students that had completed their punch card. It was 10 books from August to the 1st of May. So actually, we're going to do our celebration tomorrow, and I have 130 students. So that means that I listened or read 1,300 summaries of books. And some of the kids were very detailed. And I thought, ooh, I want to read that book. I mean, it's a book that I hadn't got to. And then some of them, you know, just told me just very short. But it kind of was a way to get them to come in and just, you know, tell what they read about, just to get them used to communicating about what they read. And so tomorrow, the goal was if they read all 10 books and they filled their punch card, then we rented some bouncy houses from Bounce Palace, and we're setting them up. They were going to be outside, but we're setting them up in the gym tomorrow because of the rain. And so they get to participate in that kind of that free day, fun day, all day long.
Hello, I'm Shelley Jones, Mountain Home Junior High. I am really excited about the activities that we've had going on this year. I don't have an exact number of how many times the kids walked through the door, but it was a huge increase this year from previous years. And I hit some of the highlights here. One of some of the things that we do, because it is a free flow time, the teachers can schedule time to come to the library for a variety of different things, but it's not where each English class comes in on a regular schedule. It's based on, you know, what they're doing and studying in their class at the time, or it's based on the availability of the library. And we've actually kept a Google Calendar on that this year because it's been such a high demand area, and an increase in that way. So some of the things that we offer that are in the library is our practice after school, which is free tutoring every Tuesday and Thursday. We always have a math teacher and an English teacher that are available for the students from 3:20 to 4:50. to get help with anything that they need. So it's not just for math and English topics, they're there to help them with anything. We also have, literacy classes have incorporated some independent reading. I think that the guiding coalition or the board, whoever it was that decided that they were going to do the reading initiative last year, the 21 for 21, is that right?
23 and 23.
23, there you go. That, I think, sparked our English teachers to bring back some independent reading. So jumping over to the other side, we actually checked out 2,584 books this year. Now, I know that doesn't compare to 18,000 from the little kids, but that's a huge number for junior high. You know, we have 630 kids, so that means on average, those kids checked out approximately, 4 books a piece.
Wow.
And then 277 books is where they weren't finished with it by the time their 3-week checkout period was up, and so they were renewing that book to keep it longer because they wanted to continue reading it. I do think that the literacy class independent reading, it has a lot to do with that, and I think it comes from that initiative that we started last year that sparked it. Launching Your Future is one of our parent community involvement pieces that we do for the building, and the library is a big part of that because we host a segment of that where the rising 8th and 9th graders, which would this year be your current 7th and 8th grade students, their parents are able to come on board on campus, take a little tour, and get a lot of information that they need in order to be prepared for the upcoming year with new classes that they get to choose from. They have credits that are counting even as an 8th grader toward their graduation. They're earning their GPA, and they cover a lot of that information, plus the programs of study and everything that we're doing that's trying to promote those career development programs. Know Your Rights with Officer Holland. Every student goes through a civics class, and every student gets to come in and have a full hour-and-a-half session with Officer Holland about what are your rights. What do you need to know about what is your rights as a student, your rights as a citizen in the community, and what are some of the things that you benefit, some of the that from as you uphold those rights. But knowing your rights with Officer Holland is something that the civics classes utilize the library to provide. They also have an opportunity to meet with their next year their career coaches. We do acuplacer testing, which allows those students to take a test that helps to determine their eligibility or their potential for success in the credit courses that they have the opportunity that ties in with ASU. At least I think I'm saying that correctly. The HOSA Health Fair is also, the library is utilized for that, so every student has an opportunity on one day where HOSA establishes a health fair in the building, and the library is always part of helping to bring those persons in from the different careers in the community and utilize the facility in that way. Plus, all students were brought into the library at least 2 days. A lot of them were brought in multiple days, but they had an actual Atlas testing boot camp, and we utilized some of the independent contracted Marlena McCullough, and I just lost her name. I came with her. I can picture her because she sat in the library the entire time. I'm embarrassed that I can't think of her name right now. But those Atlas testing boot camps that happened, they did one in their English class, but they actually brought them into the library and did a lot of interactive games, what they can do to be successful on their Atlas testing. So the number of new titles that we've added this year, we've added 307 new titles. That doesn't count the number of new books that we replaced because we had books that the kids read, and so they needed replacing, and that's part of the 327 new titles. And we brought in a lot of new authors as we coordinate with some of the different curriculum areas and what is it you need the students to have access to in the library for your curriculum area. We ended up adding a lot of new authors in that way. So, just thank you again for the fact that you do support our library so that we can support our students and support our teachers in such a wide variety of resources that they need, that they want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll finish up at our high school. We really focused, y'all, and I know that you all are aware that we wanting our ACT scores to jump, and so one of our main things at high school this year was getting our kids to read and increasing those. So we did RTIs and WIN groups this year in the library, and we focused just on reading. They came in and it was a quiet area. They weren't allowed phones. They had to put those away, and they pulled out a book and they just read. And you think, well, that probably, because kids get to sign up for that, and probably wasn't very, but most days it wasn't just because they were placed in there by the RTI scheduler. Most of them were picked to come. So we need to see high school kids that they need to get away from that technology, and they just want a book, and they just want some time to decompress.
I like it.
So that was our big focus in trying to get them to just come in and have some time to just get away.
Very good.
So again, I think our next slide is talking about our PLCs. I put just a few things on there, and you guys can go back and look at those and some of the things that we highlight and we do within our PLC. We're so appreciative of that, because I know so many of our fellow librarians across the state don't have that time, and we appreciate it.
We actually have one that wants to come be in ours.
Yes,
from another
Viola
school.
wants to join ours, so we're going to talk to Mr. McCarn and see if he can get, they have a Monday, and she's even willing to come on their day off. So one of the great things that our PLC helps is because we're able to come together. We had National Read Across America Week this year that went from kindergarten all the way through Hackler, which helps our parents be able to know what days. It's only one dress-up day, and so we were able. That was a great thing. You can look through. I know that this is going long, so I'm gonna allow y'all to look over that. But it really was a great week that we were able to have through the district. And then this summer, we just wanted to let y'all know that we are presenting as a PLC at our conference, our library conference in June. One of the things that we're highlighting is the fact that you guys support us in our professional learning community and how important it is to collaborate with each other. And then the other thing that we've had lots of people really talk with us about is our policy and procedures handbook, our manual that Devona started way back then and had a good structure, good bones to, and we've been able to revamp and really get it down to. So we have districts all across the state that are asking for our example, and obviously we're revamping it every year as well. But we're presenting that at our conference as well. So thank you for your support. We appreciate you guys.
It's a crazy wild conference if anybody wants to come.
Yeah, I bet.
All kinds of librarians.
I can't even imagine. I might want to go with you.
Thank you guys.
Crazy wild. Thank you. Have a good summer. Okay, Mr. Rose, lucky you get to follow that with your academic report.
I will say that it was a challenge, but it was fun. Miss Human's got some fun stuff going on over there. We helped out with her class at Nelson Wilkes. It was a blast. I got a lot of good hugs out of that deal. I don't know if Miss Dewey did or not, but man, every time I would come back to visit, I'd be walking down the hall and I'd just get tackled.
Oh, that's the best feeling.
That makes your day for sure.
Yes, indeed.
Makes your day for sure. So just, we got a lot left on that list tonight, so I'm just going to share some quick data, some really exciting data. Our CTE programs, and it's been a lot of fun learning about CTE pathways and what we're doing for our kids to move them forward and give them better opportunities. So I'm just going to share a little bit of data with you. We had 26 approved programs of study overall for our district. Class of 24 completers 208 programs. That's a lot. Okay, so here's a breakdown. I know a couple of you attended the ceremony the other day, but this is pretty astounding when you think about the workload that a lot of these kids carry, but 48% of our class was completed in at least one area, so you have to get to level 1, 2, and 3 of those pathways. And if you see 79 completed one, y'all can read that, but
Wow.
those ones down at the bottom are pretty amazing.
Impressive,
I don't know
yeah.
where they made that go. Pretty crazy numbers, high school people, wherever you're at, to be able to produce that. And I appreciate Miss Beckham helped with all these numbers. I appreciate her. She's a wealth of knowledge and is like, does a little bit of everything. It's hard to catch her to ask her anything, but I know me and Miss Cotter have talked a lot lately and learning kind of some of this together, and then we lean on her heavily too. And of course, Dr. Brown's still there, a phone call away, but that's some pretty crazy numbers. That student completing 5 different pathways over their course is pretty wild. All right, hit it one more time. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Before I start talking about that, though, I was thinking all these programs of study, I was thinking in my head, what's the big deal about it, right? So I went and looked at some numbers, some stats online. I found an article out of Tech Ed Magazine. It's posted back in February of last year. Just some numbers that talks about the value and the influence of these programs. It says it raises there's 3 things it listed. It raises the graduation rate. It said CTE students who complete 3 or more CTE classes in their high school career graduate at a roughly 10 percentage points higher than the national average, which is pretty phenomenal. Another one is the amount of kids that enroll in some sort of post-secondary opportunities, whether it's 4 or 2 years technical certificates. It said those stats looked at 78% of those enroll in some sort of post-secondary opportunities, compared to 65% of students who did not partake in any CTE programs. So that's another big one. And then 50% of those would go on to earn a post-secondary credential or certificate. So once again, valuable. And then the last of the 3 points off of this article talked about the ACT composite scores. They scored 4 percentage points higher. Students that were completers, like we just showed, we had 208 completers there, or programs completed. And it said students who take all courses within a program of study have a significantly higher ACT composite score than non-CTE students. So see how it kind of all works hand in hand. I thought, well, it makes sense because we talk a lot about value and direction and how do we get kids, Jeff, Mr. Kincaid and I have talked a lot about how do we get kids to do it. Well, we got to see what the value is, make it reasonable to them. And one of the things it says in here, is CTE programs give students relevance, purpose, direction, and hope for their future. So it makes sense to hone in on these things. Now, this is a chart you guys have seen earlier than in the year when we shared some previous data. But what I've done here, you'll see there's some of these highlighted in gold. So those are the 26 total amount of programs we're approved for here at our district. But the ones in gold are the ones that were recognized by the Department of Education from DESE that are high wage, high demand programs of study. So if you look through those, this is kind of a little more, that's okay, they probably already looked through most of these, but you guys recognize those. High demand, high wage, you say, what is that? So Act 237 2023 identified high demand and high wage. So their basis on the high demand, when I got to reading into that, was occupations that have a 10-year forecast total demand greater than or equal to 0.4% of the current total employment in Arkansas. So roughly about 1.4 million jobs in Arkansas are employment numbers. So these jobs have a higher demand than 0.4% of that, so about 5,500 to 5,600 openings there. And then the median, the wage, is going to be the ones that are based on MIT did a calculator and the living wage in Arkansas. So anything greater for one adult than $39,728 would be considered a high wage. So they listed 18, there's 18 total programs of study that fall into what Arkansas is recognized as high demand and high wage. So out of those, we're hitting about 14 or 15 of those that we're approved for, I believe. So we're offering a lot of things that are out there to help kids be prepared to better themselves and to hit this projected forecast for the next 10 years in Arkansas. So just some things I wanted to share with you on that. The 3, I think that we need to know, the 3 that we're not right now on our list of approves is business finance, management, and retail management. So that's the 3 that we don't have on our list at this point. But We do offer some other ones, if you noticed on that chart, that are valuable to our area, tourism, and some of the other industry things that's in there. But counties is a little lower on the median average. I did look into that. I went to that calculator and played around with it a little bit. There's at Baxter County 37,886 is that median average. So I like that. Bigger numbers better. You
Yeah.
need substantially a bigger amount of money when you look at having kids or other adults in your family. You've got to have a lot more money.
Yes, you
Attest
do.
to that, like most of y'all can.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? And there was one little follow-up I was going to share with you after that. Is there any questions on that? Awesome things going on there. So, as you know, I was out at the last meeting we had. I'd driven the bus for the junior high softball team. My daughter's playing on that, so I got to talk. Miss Dillian let me drive that trip, see my daughter play, and they only play like 4 or 5 games in junior high softball, so you don't get much of a chance to see them. So I appreciate that. But I went back and listened to the board meeting and everything. There's some questions regarding the purchase of the products for Guy Berry through the grant with the company there, and I did just want to follow up that we had done the legwork on that, and I know we didn't have that, and I wasn't here, and Ms. Cotter, I think I had some of that documentation. I apologize for that, but I had been making some calls and working on that on the side too. They will give us training with the equipment. They will give us training and specialize on the people that's going to be using it and teaching with it. So on the usage, assemble, disassemble, on cleaning properly, so it will be, not tore up and gummed up and all that lovely resin that I got to go see. I did get to go to Ranger this last month. That was really cool. Got to see some of the stuff that we will be using. So that was really neat to see it firsthand. But they'll teach us how to use it and the care of the products and that kind of thing. And then also I heard that you asked about, so in my industry experience, I did have a little experience with this when I worked before I got into education, conveyors and engineering and all that. I did sell systems on it. Most vendors or buyers wanted to have a recommended spare parts list with equipment you sell them. So I had reached out to the rep at this company, and we did have that recommended spare parts list pretty much simultaneously when we got this other. It was coming, just hadn't made it here yet when we got this one in. But since the last meeting, we have gotten that, and that has already been placed on order. So the product that you guys approved, appreciate that. That has been put on order and it had a 12 to 14 week lead time. And the spare parts are already rolling, and some of those are already getting ready to be invoiced to come in. So those will kind of come sporadically as they're made available. But so we'll be getting all those things in-house. I just want to kind of follow up on that.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Cotter, financial reports, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We ended the month of April 30th, $15,455,029.28. Things are really starting to slow down, but I did want to point out that in Fund 4000, we did make our interest payment in April, so you can see that reflected there. Any questions? Okay, moving on to the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the month ended April 30th, 2024. We ended the month of April with total revenues of $3,948,474.47, with total expenditures of $4,003,185.67. Moving on. Our tracking fund balance for funds 1, 2, and 4 combined, we ended the month of April with $8,487,775.29. Any questions? And then in the following statement of changes to activity funds, we ended the month of April with $563,435.08. The following pages are the system reports. The next
last 3 pages are the system reports that support these documents. And then following that, you have the check register for the month of April.
Any questions for Ms. Cotter?
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enrollment report.
We are at 3,804 students, which is down just a little, but we did expect that. However, it is down less than we were last year. So last year from May to May, we lost 38, or April to May, we lost 38 kiddos. This year, 13. So hopefully that's a good sign. Mr. Roach is enrolling them right and left. He'll continue to help us with that. We'll probably do a push on social media. We've been, but we'll probably do another one just to make sure we get those kiddos in and get them registered and get them ready to start school in the fall.
Very good. Student transfer update.
Student transfer update. Okay, so this was interesting. We had some students, we actually transferred in, I called it 7, could be 6 because one was really pre-K. But they went ahead and did the paperwork.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. So 6 in, 2 out. The 2 that went out were kindergartners that were going to enroll next fall. 4 of ours were kindergartners enrolling for the fall. They had missed school choice, so they go ahead, they do the transfer. So we're actually ahead, so
Very
that's
good.
a good thing.
Okay. Mr. Knight, facility projects report.
So there's nothing really exciting that's happened in maintenance this month other than tables and chairs and grass. So we're getting this all wrapped up this week, and then we'll start on our summer projects. So I updated you guys' spreadsheet that you've been looking at, and almost every one of those is scheduled. And I wanted to bring to your attention, we spoke on the previous meetings about a couple other things that were going to be out there. And while they did not require you guys to approve them, there's still some of them, 19,000s, enough that you guys need to know about. So the abatement for the F hallway at Nelson Wells, that came in, the polishing wasn't very much, but the abatement was 12 grand, and I think it was only about a quarter of that hallway. So
Yeah.
kind of
That's
remember
crazy.
that if we decide to start going back down that way. And then I thought the Nelson Wilkes the road actually came in a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. So
That's good.
yeah,
That's the turnaround kind of in the back
just
part there.
that one piece, maybe the whole thing. Yep.
Okay.
So, y'all have any questions?
Did you go ahead and pass holes through there too? Is that
Getting rid of that road.
perfect?
Yep.
Making sure.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Got off easy there, Chris. All right, we are ready for our second read of 2024-25 handbooks and procedures. Mr. Rose and principals.
Yeah, so you guys have got the links and have had those, and the second read. Principals be able to answer any questions, they're all independent, so then any questions you may have on those handbooks.
I want to give a shout out. Mr. Jack Coleman is here. He did serve on the high school handbook committee. So Jack, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I sat in with Mr. Morris and their committees, and kids really participate a lot in those.
good.
I think Ms. Morgan was there.
Good to have their input. I see Mr. Steiner over there too. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Steve, I assume you do high school, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question on the electronic communications and the cell phones.
Uh-huh.
Why aren't those put on the same page, the consequences with the policies?
I'm not understanding what.
One's on page 70, electronic communications, and the cell phone's on page 23.
There's two different topics.
The exact same thing is in 2 places, I think, Steve. Probably just something y'all would.
I have no idea.
I just feel like the parents need it that way, so that way if they're reading about cell phones, then they can read about what the,
We'll look at that and see what page it serves its purpose better.
Do you think we should combine it to one page, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay. That way we can clarify in notes.
yeah. And the other thing is, again, I'm very thankful that we're getting rid of cell phones in the classroom. But I really think we need to carry it a little bit further and not let them have them in the hallways.
We threw that out. The process is when we know that we gotta have a handbook committee, we throw out everything to teachers. What are some things that you would like, suggestions to have, to take a look at in the handbook? And so we get all that input, and then we start to develop our committee, which is, we have 2 schools, so we gotta have teachers and parents and students from both situations. So every topic that is sent to me, as suggestions from junior high and high school staff, we go over. Last year, there was a talk about banning phones. We wasn't in that situation yet. We wasn't ready. This coming year, about the phone situation, the issues that we have with the phones have decreased this year compared to last year. We have very few incidents that take place in the hallway and in the bathrooms or anything like that. Most of ours, the kids just have it out during class time when they're not supposed to have it out. We had 266 of those this year. We only had 31 repeat offenders because the consequences for the second violation is far greater. So we are actually just taking baby steps to get to where there's not going to be any phones at all at the high school. So our next step this year is not so much the phones, it's the electronic devices, which is the earbuds and the earphones. We are going to eliminate those totally at school because they're not using those to help them study. There's no educational process. They're using those to tune us out instead of tune us in. So that is our next step in the progression on that. Okay. If you would like for us to take a look at that, Ms. Morgan is on our handbook policy. I would like for you to recommend to make any suggestions to her. We can reconvene as a committee and talk about those things and to make a decision through the handbook committee.
I just feel like when you're changing classes, you need to get to class,
You do.
not be on your phone. And yet bathroom problems can happen.
It can.
And I just think that one needs to go.
Okay. Ms. Morgan, we'll talk about that at our next
Well,
meeting.
I mean, I'm gonna say, sitting on that committee, I was really impressed, and I had a concern over, it was the unexcused absences, and I emailed Mr. Morris and Ms. Russell, and 3 days later, they came back, they had polled the teachers, and anyone who's been a teacher knows, you've got to have teacher buy-in. And my concern was, if the teachers weren't gonna enforce, then why are we putting that out there? I think that's a nuisance. And the teachers were very honest, and Mr. Morris made an adaptation to the policy that's pretty impressive. So I listened to the whole cell phone thing, and there is that deal, you take away too much and you get backlash. And I kind of like a progressive approach. I think you kind of lead in, and I also think our governor may take care of some of these things for us. If you listen to the news, she's addressing some of that, and I think it'd kind of be nice to let her handle that, and then it's statewide, and we can go on and do our thing.
Well, we're allowing lunch. To me, we're allowing them to have for lunch. But I don't think you need it going from one class to another class. I think you need to carry it and
It
put it back
doesn't bother
in the
me
pocket.
for a student to check a text. It really doesn't. And sometimes it's parents who send a text, I'm gonna pick you up at such and such after school, be ready. It's
That's
it's the times that we're in.
That's what the parents need to know.
Well, then we're gonna have to start training parents, which we all know, that's a deal. But
We do have more changes this year, and I think we have in years past, so we gotta blast that out before school starts on these policies. I do want, and I know you know this, but it is very difficult for the high school and junior high handbook to be on the same page, because they have 8th and 9th graders, we have 10 through 12, they have what they want, we have what we want, and it's tough to mesh that together on some of these big topics. So, but we sat down, we discussed those, we need a happy medium, and then we move forward with that. I would like to say that it's been difficult this year, coming to a consensus about what needs to be in there and what doesn't, the direction that we need to be going. I think we do a really good job about polling people, asking questions, parent input, student input, and our students this year were fantastic. There were 6 of them on our committee, and they were vocal. They saw the light about, yeah, we need to have these, or no, we don't. They wasn't afraid to hurt anybody's feelings on that. I thought we did well. We still have 3 big topics. That is not set in stone yet. We still have 3 big topics that we have yet to come to a consensus with in the handbook. And that's one, unexcused absences. It's killing us at the high school, folks. People are just missing class because why do they have to come when it's put on canvas and they can just do it at home? So the topic that we have to come up with is, should we have any consequences for these unexcused absences? So should we have point deduction if they have an unexcused absence? What is an unexcused absence? One, they're out of parent contacts, or they do not bring us any notification back to school about where they were at. Going a step further with that, it was already in our handbook, 5 days. Students or parents had to turn in their notes and excuses within 5 days. We have not been following that. So if you think back to these kids or have a lot of these unexcused absences, we do allow them to make up time, but we also allow them to turn in doctor's notes and parent notes going all the way back to January. It was recommended by our juvenile judge not to do that anymore. She wanted a stiff timeline when they can turn it in, because these kids with unexcused absences, they get sent down the road to juvenile services, and they go through all the meetings, and all of a sudden, here they come back up with doctor's notes and parent contacts back in January, which the unexcused got them sitting down there in the first place. She wants a hard deadline. It was already in her handbook at 5 days, so we're going to be enforcing that. And so we got to blast that out to parents as well at the start of the school year. 3 big topics, unexcused. The next is parking at the high school. Right now, I will tell you, the handbook committee is leaning toward first come, first serve. If you do not understand how big a headache the parking is at the high school, come on up. I'd be happy to show you, because it's the domino effect. When one person parks and somebody else's, here it goes. So first come, first serve, reward those kids who rise and shine, get there, and hopefully it will stop some of the tardies that we have first period. We have 10 to 20 or 25 tardies first period every day, because these kids think they can just come in at 7:57, wheel in their spots, and they can go. Will it increase next year if we do first come, first serve? Absolutely, the first 2 weeks, because they're going to have to drive around and pick a spot. But in return, maybe they'll get there a little bit earlier, just like we want them at the job. We don't want them rolling in at 7:59. We want them there at 7:45.
We fought over
Ready to
parking spots back in school.
And then the third topic that we have, we started to see a trend last year, a little bit more this year in December. These kids that are taking semester tests during Christmas time and at the end of the year. Christmas time is kicking us, because they're just calling and say, hey, I'm going on a trip. So we allowed them to take the test when they get back at full credit. Now we're looking at unexcused absences. Do we allow them to take those tests for full credit? They get 2 extra weeks to study during Christmas break. That's not fair to those kids that bust their tail in to study and be ready for that test. So we're still trying to finalize what that looks like. How can we do something with that? Because it's affecting those kids who put the time and effort in. So that's 3 things that we still haven't decided on. Once we get them in there, we'll notify you, Ms. Morgan, notify you on that as well.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, sir. And to bring it back to the topic about Ms. Horton brought up, is back to the cell phones. You know, I tend to agree with, I think, what Ms. Horton's stance is there's not a lot of redeeming qualities, at least that we see, of having cell phone use in the classroom or in the hallways. I think that is an end goal that I think we should strive towards as well. There's a lot of data out there talking about cell phone use and screen time, etc. I can buy into the progression of removing those instead of just yanking the rug out. But to understand the progression from last year to this year is removing earbuds. Is that the step that we're taking this year?
And the next thing is, it is going to be highly recommended that those kids turn their phones into the teachers at the beginning of the class. If they choose not to do that, we are not going to be the cell phone police. However, if they get a violation, we are going to treat that as two offenses. One, they didn't do what they were supposed to do to begin with. They didn't turn it in. And then two, we roll on to the cell phone consequence. So it kind of doubles. This year, first violation was lunch detention. Next year it'd be 2 if you choose not to turn your phone in. Second violation is a day at Guy Berry. Next year it'd be 2 if you choose not to turn it in. So those are ramping it up.
So really, they still can have their cell phone
They
if they want
can, they just gotta have it put away. They cannot be seen at all.
It's supposed to be off.
It's supposed to be off. It is. If it goes off, that's a violation. Because it's supposed to be put up and it's supposed to be turned off. Biggest thing though, folks, is consistency with the staff.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, we're gonna address that, we're gonna do our very best to get that done.
And we've talked about the hangers on the door where everybody puts it in a pocket.
Yes, they can have those. We asked what teachers last year, who would like for us to order you one. Some of them have little bins to put in, some have different, one in the front of the room, one over here to keep the rows different. So that has helped.
So what if the teacher's not following policy?
I think that then Ms. Russell and myself, or actually Ms. Russell needs to call them on the carpet.
Okay.
I said, these are our expectations.
Is that in our policy for the teachers? I'm talking to a PPC person.
In the context of not holding the students accountable to the?
Yes, allowing them.
I don't know if that's part of policy necessarily.
Sorry.
They might just fall under insubordination because it's
It should
refusing
be.
to do a
Yeah.
reasonable
Yes,
request.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's insubordination.
Because that's what we had last year. Last year, they didn't need to use them, but if the teacher said it's okay, they could. So that made
That's
it.
not a choice this year.
No, but that was a problem.
Mhm.
You know, guess which class the kids want to go to.
Mhm.
But, you know, I just don't see why they need them for, what is it, 10 minutes? They get to go
Right.
from one class to the
5.
other? 5 minutes.
So I feel that moving just the earbuds is almost a baby step towards that goal. Like, so why not go on and say no hallways, right? Hey, have them lunch, but from
Yeah.
first bell to lunchtime, they still need to appear. I mean, that's a real small baby step. So what would next year's steps be if we?
So
just
where are
said,
you
hey,
gonna put those phones? I mean, are they gonna enter school and turn them into the office and then they
Well,
don't
it's
get them
just,
till noon?
right now, they can keep them on them, but
Got
they're
it.
supposed to be off and out of
They have
sight.
to
So
be
why
off
don't we
in-
just?
Well, but
the
they're turning
building.
them into the teachers at the start of the class.
Right,
If
but
they
they have to have
choose
them
to.
on.
If they choose,
Right.
but
If
they
they're
can
in the
have
hall
them.
and they have them on, then they're,
The teachers aren't gonna pat down students and see if they have cell phones on them, right? They're off
No.
and out of sight. And that's as far as the teachers go, is my understanding, right? If it dings or goes off or rings, or they pull it out, that's when they get the violation.
On that, I understand where you're going with that. I would like to invite you up to the school though, and see the kids in transition in between classes. And see what we would be up against if we did that.
Sure.
Okay, so y'all can come up at any time, bell ring. And I'm not saying we don't need to do that. I just don't think next year, due to the fact, when you have employees and they get to go on break, what do? They pull the phone out. They use it wisely. We don't allow them during work time, but on break and lunch, they get to pull that out. So we're trying to get them exactly where the workforce is at.
As an employer, I'm not collecting my employees' phones at the beginning of the day and then doling them out at break time. That's not, or that's not teaching our children responsibility.
well, we're not talking about taking it from them. We're talking about them just put it in a pocket or turn it off.
They put it in their pocket and turn it off. I don't want to be responsible for it.
Well, you're not. You don't work in school.
Well, I haven't worked at Guy Berry where we took the phones out and put them in a pouch and put them away. Kids find a way to circumvent that, and they suddenly come up with 2 cell phones or 3 cell phones. If the phone gets damaged while it's in that pocket, guess who gets blamed? At the school. So I think we start with this progressive. The teachers are going to be responsible during the class time. If a kid pulls it out, walking to class, we don't know what's going on in their lives. It's not a problem if they get to class on time. They've got 5 minutes. They can't sit and have a lengthy conversation or.
What was the discussion in the handbook committee about that?
I think, Jack, you want to speak?
Oh, gosh, I'm not.
Come on, buddy.
Could you repeat the question, please?
What was the discussion in the handbook committee about the cell phones and kind of the progressiveness of, you know, putting them up, no hallways, no lunch, you know, what was the conversation?
So I missed the last meeting, but the
okay.
first meeting, we talked largely about cell phones, and the students' response was mainly that we felt that we need to not just let go, like you guys are saying, not go straight, pull the rug, no phones at all.
Mhm.
And we also thought that we kind of agreed that the pockets would be a good idea, but it was brought, I think you brought up the point of if a cell phone is damaged or lost, then that blame falls.
Or stolen.
Or stolen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to, and people, like in my, I think 7th grade class, if some girl had an Apple Watch on and their phone was in the pocket, they're taking pictures through their phone, through their Apple Watch. And so there's lots of, technology is so advanced nowadays, there's lots of ways around that. But I think most of the students settled on, we would like to have them in the hallways and at lunch. And if it were to be just at lunch, I think that'd be an okay compromise. But in the hallways, I mean, in my classes this year, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 kids late to our class ever. I do not see many kids being late to our classes, so I believe it's not a ginormous problem. And on his point, the staff needed to enforce that in the hallways would be enormous. And if that would be like, if we could get that, I don't think it'd cause a huge disruption, but I think getting that staff, that workforce, I mean, pulling them out of their classes, having to parade the hallways, that'd be a little hard.
I'll take this guy wherever we need to go. That's what I'm saying. Another thing is, you know, our tardies in transition in between classes is very few. We might have 1 or 2 or 3 a week. The tardies is first period. And then the next thing we gotta think about, I'm trying to plant a seed here about no cell phones at school. What do we do with those IEP kids and 504 kids that have to monitor their blood sugar? And they have to take the rating. That's gonna be all kinds of meetings and paperwork and changing their IEPs, changing 504s.
It's all kids too.
And then when that kid has it out to take their reading, why isn't he in trouble? That's a tough one to explain because you can't tell them anything about that. I'm just keeping it real.
I don't know, maybe you need to check some of those schools that's deleted all of their cell phones.
We have. I asked the library to send out in their listserv how many schools have reached out and done away totally with schools. We probably got 10 responses. Probably 7 or 8 of them were good, saying we love it. However, we're not ready to do that, in my opinion, just to say no cell phones.
You have Pinkston on down that doesn't, they're off, they're in their lockers. I mean, you have students over there that are diabetics also. So how do they handle it?
Justin?
Which part specifically, Ms. Barber?
Like on the, since you guys have to have your phones off before they come on campus and put the cell phone and put it in their locker, keep it turned off. What do you do for those that have problems that have to use it with diabetics?
We've got that documentation to support it. There are a few isolated incidents that we have documentation to support. And to be honest, we haven't been, it at least hasn't come across my desk as far as why can Timmy have it, but I can't. But if that's the case, we just say that's an isolated incident. You're gonna have to trust that we're doing what's best for that student.
Yeah.
But I haven't been asked that question nor do I know the small volume of kids, if any, that have that accommodation.
I will tell you one more thing. That was a kickback on teachers, and I'm using Tom Chetnick as an example. He saves the district money by allowing his students to pull up their music on their phone. He does not make paper copies. They pull up their music, they set it on the podium, and they play. Could you imagine 80 to 100 band members copying off sheets because they can't have their phone? That's another example. I just want to throw out there.
Performances too,
Mm-hmm.
attached to their instruments, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to take a look at, we'd be happy to. Just tell them this morning what your concerns or a recommendation is, and we'll get back together as a committee. We've had 3 meetings that's lasted an hour and a half so far. We'd be happy to have another one. Actually, we have to have another one because we still got those 3 hot topics. And all the teachers at my school they've been polled about what they want to do with that unexcused.
So the
absence.
earbuds is going into effect? It is in,
Sure would
okay.
like, absolutely.
Okay.
And
It's in there.
just to note, we need a different point of contact, because I can't go contact Ms. Morgan
Well,
about.
tonight you could.
Or tonight.
Tonight you
So-
could, or you can tell
But if we
us.
start talking about it, it's gonna have to go with Ms.
That's
Dewey
fine,
or a
you can
different
tell
point of
me and I
contact.
can
Just-
take it to her.
Sure.
Email me,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sure.
Just like the teachers do, yeah.
Okay.
If I could briefly address the absentee issue, unexcused absent in the first period. I believe Ms. Camp and Mr. Rose and I don't know who else was, we were at an advisory board meeting talking about CTE, and I believe Baxter Lab was there. But the big part of the discussion was from industry, from business, we would like to reward students if we know what their abilities were through the ACT thing, which is, I think, is going to be a great thing. But one of the discussions was work ethic. We don't get employees that have a work ethic. I mean, and if you want to go with employers, we don't care much about diplomas anymore. We just want a work ethic. Part of what the discussion was, if I remember right, and it might have been Baxter, one of the people was like, okay, if they put the effort in to get the diploma, that's good. If you can give us some of the training and their aptitudes with the ACT in this new program, that's great. If they can show a good attendance record, we would be willing to pay a bonus over whatever every industry and company has a difference there. But a consistency, if a kid is able to go through whole school and get away with whatever, and I agree, if we say turn off the cell phone and don't use it, we don't need to collect it. If we tell the teacher this is the policy and they don't want to follow it, it's insubordination. We don't even need to have a discussion about it. We need consistency in what we're doing here, and we need to produce a student that has a value to the community, the workforce that he's going to or she's going to be entering. So letting it just kind of go along, oh, they didn't show up or whatever, there needs to be a consequence and a balance within that. And, you know, and I'm a firm believer and guilty with extenuating circumstances, so we don't have to have a hard rule to bash, but I
That's
think
what we're trying to figure out now. Do we want a hard, or do we want a progression? It was initially thought if they're unexcused any work that day done or turned in, it would be a 50% deduction automatically. So I sent that at the teachers, and I polled them, and they said, the bottom line is if the kids will do the work, I'm going to grade. And I think us that's been in education, that's what we want. We want those kids to do the work. However, these kids are passing by doing the work off canvas and not showing up to class. Well, there's two parts. One, you gotta make the grade, and two, you gotta have your tail end in the seats as well.
let's just be consistent with the policy across the board. And a personal instance today, I had a person call yesterday, not show up, and I had a no call, no show today. I told my manager, write him up. You got one strike. You don't get too many strikes in my book. Students need to understand that by the time they get through their education.
I will tell you, like the last 2 years in a row, we had the sophomore class in the auditorium while seniors were off campus. We had how not to get fired through the hospital. Those two ladies are fantastic. They come in and they talk to those kids. They talk to them about filling out an application properly. And the biggest thing that they hit on is absenteeism and tardiness being at work, and they pounded, and they were fantastic. So we do have that for our sophomores, because we want to get it in their heads at that time, because they're entering the workforce. And then it stays with them, hopefully start developing some habits. They got to hear from somebody else. They're not listening to us on that. I'm not afraid to say that. Workforce needs to come in and tell them, this is the way it's going to be.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you for all the work.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
very much.
No.
Thank you, Jack.
Lots of changes too.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions for Mr. Rose about the handbooks? We just barely scratched it, but anybody else?
I can pester him later.
High school and junior high is the only one that's not complete. I mean, in those 3 areas, you know, the 3 areas that are highlighted. And I will text or email and let you know when it's done.
Okay.
Take a look at it.
All right, we will move to board action items. Request to purchase bulk school supplies. Ms. Cotter. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Happy summer.
Hello again.
Hello.
It's the time of year where we bring to the board a board action item for supplemental school supplies to be purchased with our federal funds. This year, we only have one bidder. I do want to say we had the bid posted for several weeks on the website. We even reached out to previous bidders from the year prior, and we received this one bid. So tonight, we're asking that the board approve bidder number 1 for $98,758.58.
Make a motion, we approve the bid as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Molly, any discussion?
Is this number down from last year?
Yes, we ask that the buildings take inventory on any leftover supplies that maybe they had that had not been picked up, because we did have some extra supplemental supplies. And so they were very good at getting that information to us. We also had some paper that Mr. Smith has found a way to utilize that also helped our paper costs.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
We do see, we do watch, we do hear. I don't want to think anything goes unnoticed.
Last year, it was 140,000
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah, so I figure it's 50, almost 50,000. Okay.
And
All in.
thank you for that write-up too. We were talking about how we're soliciting from local bidders. You know, I'd had that concern last summer. I brought it up, hey, single bids, are we going out and getting them? So just the fact that, hey, we've had it out there, we've actually solicited bids, and we've still got just the one. And that makes us feel a lot better about accepting a single bid. So, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Cotter. Stay up there. Request to approve budget adjustments for '24.
We have received some more updates to final allocations, and so tonight I'm presenting just a few changes in 3 different funds, as you can see in the attachment. And so we're asking that you approve the attached budget amendments for the 23-24 school year.
Net positive. Okay. I'll make a motion, we accept the budget adjustments for state and federal funds as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bob? All right, any discussion? I guess no discussion.
No.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. And request to approve 24-25 assurances with GEPA statement.
Okay, this is
GEPA.
a little bit different this year. In the past 6 years, I guess, Ms. Brown and Ms. Benton have brought, or Dr. Brown and Ms. Benton have brought to you federal program assurances. And in the past, special education would bring theirs for their IDEA part, and then all the other title funds would come in a different set. Well, now they have combined those 2 sets of assurances. So tonight you see a longer document. There's more detail in it, and the GEPA statement is added at the end. And GEPA stands for the General Education Provisions Act, and what that is to ensure equitable access to and participation in federally funded assisted programs by addressing like the special needs of our populations, whether it be students, teachers, or other beneficiaries of our programs. So the statement for GEPA is on the last pages. that as requirements by the law, we have to present these to the board, and they require superintendent and board president approve signatures upon approval of the board. So tonight, we're recommending that the school board approve the federal programs assurances for the covered programs under ESSA and IDEA for the 24-25 school year.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation to approve the federal programs assurances with GEPA statement as presented.
Second.
Don't pout, Jason.
Oh, no, I just
Any discussion?
did.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Camp, request to approve the Bomber Virtual Academy. Hi.
So this year, we partnered with Arkansas River Educational Cooperative. I can never say it, so I usually call them Arky Varky, for our K-5 kids, that they provide direct instruction. That is their only job. They are a virtual teacher. I sat in on numerous Zoom sessions with our K-5 kids. Kids are getting, they were doing Haggerty lessons in some of the classes that I was in, very targeted, relevant instruction that has done a tremendous job with our kids this year. So this action item for you is to actually bump that to K7, because our current path is K5. 6 we were doing with in-house teachers that were trying to do a blended situation. 7th grade switched to virtual Arkansas along with 8 through 12. So we had 3 different programming options for our virtual kids. And a lot of these kids remain virtual throughout the year. So for consistency, to make it so that it is seamless, and I can say 100% these kids are getting a quality education, like to approve our Arky Varky, our Arkansas River Educational Cooperative partnership for our K-7 virtual kids for next year.
Okay.
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Molly. Any discussion for Ms. Camp?
You said tremendous or a word like that. How do we measure that?
I'm looking at it from the lens of an educator and a teacher and knowing what those standards are. So seeing what the lesson is, kind of like if an administrator walked into a seated classroom and assesses what's happening in that classroom. So knowing the virtual side of my brain and the tech side of my brain, but also what the standards are for a 3rd grade ELA classroom. And then the feedback we're getting from our partners. I get a grade report weekly on these kids. Some of these kids I get a daily report. So it's, I guess, probably trifold in just the background knowledge that I have as the educator and then supervising, but then also the feedback we're getting from those teachers and the parents and the students.
You often deal, like if there's a situation where a student's not participating, they're contacting you and your families, and they even said, I do get updates as well. I get grade reports, testing data, they're doing map testing, I believe it was map testing. So we're getting some good updates to know to feel confident in making this recommendation.
I realize education is changing in the form that it's happening. I just don't want to jump too far into it.
Sure, and this is a very small, I'm
let's
asking
kind of
for
wade
8
in
slots.
instead of fall deep.
Like we're looking, our enrollment for K-6 this year fluctuated around 10. Some kids are virtual for a little while, some kids have remained all year. So asking for 8 slots, and it's a very small subpopulation. Some of those kids are virtual for medical reasons. Some are virtual because it is safer for them to be virtual than to be in another situation. So it's a very student-specific placement. In our on the action item, the link that you have, I've cleaned up those virtual requirements. There is an application process that has to be met. There are guidelines to be able to remain in virtual. Specifically, if a kid is not passing their classes on a bi-weekly grade check, they are back in a seated class. If a virtual kid misses more than 2 or 3 virtual Zooms in a row, they are back on campus. So that it's very monitored. It's not just, you're virtual, see you later. But feel really confident with this partnership with Virtual Arkansas, Virtual at the River. Rocky, Rocky.
So it's 8 per class grade?
No.
8 total?
That's 8 total that we
Wow.
have right now
Yeah,
that are
8 total
K7,
spots.
K6.
This would be for K7.
This will be
Yes,
for K7, so
8
asking for
total
8.
spots.
Wow.
And the good news, one of the other things with this partnership is those spots are flexible. So if we have a student move in, move out, move in, they let us interchange them. Judy and I placed a Nelson Wilkes kid last week. They're not charging us for him at all. Just because of the
It's late in the
partnership
year.
that we have.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and if we don't use all 8 spots next year, they will give us a refund.
Very
So
good.
very accommodating.
Yeah.
So you said we used, what, 10 this year, so we have fewer.
At
Like,
most,
is
we
this-
were up to 10.
Is
Yes.
this enough, right?
Yes, I think so.
Especially
And
if they
we
give us a
need to add,
refund.
we can add more
Let's
if we need to.
reserve a few more and, yeah.
We can always add more if we need to, but 8, I don't want to overshoot the mark. We currently have 9 BVA students. One of them is a 7th grader who will be transitioning to Virtual Arkansas next year. So I'm crossing my fingers that we're going with 8.
And it's important for people to know, these are our students.
Yes.
These are, we get funding for
Yes.
them, so this is not just money out, right? We get the full funding and then this is for, so.
And they come on campus for any of our AAA activities. 7th grade kiddo played basketball in the band. Our elementary kids come for field days. I know one of the Nelson Wilkes kids is there for Arkansas Week this week, so they're.
We got Dean for that, though. They wondered where she was.
Well, they asked, and there was just a little clarification, like, is there a reason why she's missing her Zoom? And I was like, yep, she's at watching the fire truck or whatever was happening today. They do a tremendous job with these kids.
Very good. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Camp. Ms. Dewey, request to approve policy updates? No?
I get to
Oh,
do a
poo-poo,
twofer
sorry.
tonight.
Oh,
I'm
geez.
here again.
Darn it. I was, the big canvas purchase.
So Canvas is up for
Trying to
renewal
skip
this
that.
year. Our first step is to determine, is this something that our teachers are using? So step 1 was to survey our staff. Hackler, we surveyed 3 times.
It was an accident.
We got all kinds of data with them, but, so we went through the survey with each of our buildings, and it was just very simple. Do you use Canvas? Do you want to keep it? Do you not? Yes, no, maybe. So the blue lines are yes, please keep it. The yellow lines are no, don't want it. The grays are maybe, or it's not really applicable to me. So if you just go through each of our buildings, so you can see with Hackler, we had about 45, 42 responses total with Hackler. And then with Pinkston, 26 responses. So again, you can see the blue line is saying, yes, please keep it. Junior high and high school, I did combine those because of the way the questions were worded, so it's a little bit more data on one page. But look at your electives and your CTEs and your multiple grade levels, those specialty areas just very overwhelmingly said, yes, please keep it. And then the last slide is just a summary of everything together where I broke it down into content-specific teachers versus non-content. So your electives versus your ELA class math. So overwhelmingly, every building said, yes, please keep it. So we said, okay, how do we do this? Well, we know last year we pulled Canvas from K2 because they are standards-based grading. So it wasn't a program or a platform that was applicable for those kids. So we've already pulled it and went to grades 3-12. So then we started digging into it a little bit more. How can we make sure we're fiscally responsible? One of the add-ons we had for Canvas was Studio, which is basically a really cool thing that you can play a video and build a quiz within Canvas and it stops. So think of like a Bill Nye the Science Guy video. So it would stop in the middle of the video, the kids would have to answer the question, and then before it would let them move on. Very relevant during COVID and during off-site learning, not as applicable to an in-site or an in-house classroom. So we went back to Canvas, asked for a quote, said, can you tell us what it's going to be if we remove Studio? That would save us $8,800. So that's why you see the recommendation of $33,741, which is actually cheaper than what it was last year because of that removal of Studio.
Nothing goes cheaper.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's a bargain.
It's good too. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we make a motion? Okay, I need a motion, please.
Make a motion, we approve the renewal for Canvas at $33,741.60.
Thank you, Jason. Do I have a second?
Second.
Molly, thank you. Any more discussion? Further discussion?
We had this kind of discussion last summer. We were talking about Canvas, first maybe other platforms that do similar that didn't cost as much. I'm happy to see that we've had a reduction. For the teachers that said no, they don't use it on those, do they still get a license? I mean, are we across the board, even if they're not touching it, if they're not using it?
So yeah, our grades for grades, hold on, rewind. Our grades for students in grades 3 through 12 are posted in Canvas. So a teacher may not use everything in Canvas, but they are still in Canvas posting to their grade book, which is the flip side of what they used to do in TAC or in eSchool. So, and Canvas has well, you click on that second link that I was hoping I wasn't going to have to explain because I don't really understand it, but Steve may rescue me. So if you look at the green box, that is our licensure for every year. So this goes from, I believe, 2021 up to January of 2024. So our licensure you see on the far right went way down. That's when we dropped K2. Our blue is our average users. So you can tell you want to see your average users well within your licensure area. The red line are unique users. So that is anybody that logs in maybe one time and then they move. So that's where you see the fluctuation. Did I do it correctly, Steve? Okay, good. I was like, please don't make me talk about this one. But so, yes and no, Scott. Every teacher, even though they may not use all of the components that Canvas has to offer, they are still using it for grades. And as a parent, Kelly, if you'll go back to that last link, the parent app is where you really get the most bang for your buck with Canvas. My child who graduated didn't love that we switched to the Canvas parent app because you really do have a tremendous amount of knowledge at your fingertips for how your child is doing in their classes if their teachers are posting the assignments in Canvas. So that the parent side of it really fulfills the transparency with curriculum with Learns. The teacher doesn't have to do one more thing. If they're already putting their things on Canvas and it's available to parents, it checks all the boxes.
So the license is per student, not per
user.
teacher, right?
It's per user, student and teacher.
Okay, I did not know that it had the student, so.
Based on our student count.
But it's based on the student count, that's what I
If
thought.
that dark green line drops way below our license line, then we renegotiate. We look at that every year to make sure it's pretty close.
I think last summer I was leaning towards hey, if we have something that's similar, why don't we take the free or least expensive one?
We looked like,
and I started thinking about it from a teacher's perspective, right? And what is that going to do to the teacher morale, to their workload? And I think we need to be really cognizant of that too. So the feedback that I've gotten is that'll be detrimental if you suddenly, or not even suddenly, we talked last summer, hey, let's start phasing it out or start thinking about that, but remove Canvas from them. So thinking from the teacher's perspective, I think it's a good idea to support Canvas, even though software, just all the software we buy, it adds up. I think this is a valid and a worthwhile software purchase. So, all right. That's all.
They do know. Thank you, teachers, yes. And when I asked Ms. Dewey about that part for the parent and the student, I had no idea so much information that a parent can really find out about the student.
Go back to it for just a second. If you'll scroll down, So you can even go in as a parent, which I'm glad I didn't know this, because you can go in and set different alerts.
Mhm.
So if your kid makes below a certain percentage on an assignment, it will alert you. It automatically alerts you if the assignment's missing, if it's late, all of the things. Even from a communication standpoint, like course announcements, the one that came in clutch for Mason, because, the class of 2022, 2023, whenever he graduated, all of those announcements came directly to me. So Hot Mess Express did not miss graduation practice or turning in his money for his cap and gown. Every one of our grade levels has that class of, even at Pinkston, it's don't forget tomorrow is this, this. So it's very useful for more than just the assignments. But then also being able to go in, my kid had the flu. I'm coming back to school and handbook says I have how many days to do my makeup work afterwards. But you know what, you're feeling okay today, let's see if we can knock out a couple of assignments while we're home. So then he wasn't digging out of a huge hole when he came back. So it is amazing. And we looked at Google Classroom or other free pro LMSs. There's no way to get all of the content that teachers have spent hours building in Canvas transferred into a free platform.
I so wish we would have had this when I raised mine.
Right?
Man.
This part.
So much help. Yeah, just knowing, I was like pulling teeth. What's due and what are you supposed to be doing? And
I am glad that wasn't around.
I'm very thankful. Cell phones and Canvas were not around when I was in school. So
I didn't say when I was in school. I mean when my boys were in school.
It's an amazing platform that has all the capabilities that you want to dig in and find.
And parents know about this.
They do.
I mean, they're well aware.
They do. I saw when I was in Pinkston last week doing testing, there's the Canvas parent brochure laying on their front table. Our Canvas PD for our teachers are usually our biggest PDs in the summer. They know. And
It's a great
ASU
thing.
systems are switching to Canvas, I believe this
Been a
summer.
big deal.
Mhm.
I know Missouri S&T all switched to Canvas. I did not look at U of A. I was going to and I forgot. So Canvas is also replacing Blackboard at many secondary schools. So going back to Bob and what I say every time, our goal is to prepare them to be successful
Right.
humans and adults. This is just one more tool.
Love it. Okay.
But it does cause some problems with unexcused absences, I'm understanding.
Well, then that's where we gotta figure it out. Yeah. You can make, the teacher can actually go into Canvas and set a viewability time for assignments. They can also set a code for their assignments that kids can't see it unless they type in the code. So there are a lot of things from the instructional tech side of things that I can do with the high school staff to say, hey, did you know it can do
That
this,
is-
this, and
that's-
this? So there
Mhm.
are many routes we can go to get that final goal.
So that could help our unexcused absence.
That's cool.
And that'll be in PD.
You betcha.
Uh-huh. All right.
Thanks.
I like it. I like you.
Thank you.
Okay. Where do we leave off? We got two motions.
Discussion.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms.
Thanks, guys.
Camp. All right, Ms. Dewey, request to board. Yeah, let's go back to that one.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
each year, as you know, we go through, ASBA provides us model policy based on rules, legislative sessions, mistakes they find, and cross-referencing. So the policies do need to be revised to accommodate changes as the legislature and to better address the needs of our students. The updates tonight that you will see are all straight from ASBA. I also want to note that some of these that I'm going to recommend for your approval to not require board action, but these do come to you yearly so that you do see exactly what's happening in that policy manual. So I recommend that the board approve the attached policies as presented for the 1s, 4s, and 5s.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the policy updates for sections 1, 4, and 5 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jason. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Mr. Engel, request to approve policy update section 3.
We also have quite a few revisions for section 3. I go through them one at a time if you guys want, or we can hit the highlights of them. Sorry. But this does include, finally, the completion of our policy change for stipends, which we've been working on all year. Some minor changes to match model policy. We are also touching 3.29, which we talked about in the past, which is making sure PPC and CPPC are on the same page as to the development of the calendar, which was we talked about in months past. Probably all the major things to mention. I do miss any questions, but I'd recommend that we approve these policy changes for section 3.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve these policy changes?
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Molly. Any discussion? Mr. Booth?
I have one, I think it all looks great, and thanks for PPC for doing these updates. I have one thing, 3.34, cell phone use policy, or licensed personal cell phone use. And it's because sitting in with CPPC, we discussed at CPPC, and through our discussions there, I look at, and we're different, and we're going to look at Section 8 next. But the first few lines of 3.34, use of cell phones or other electronic communication devices by employees during instructional time for other than instructional purposes. For other than instructional purposes is strictly forbidden unless specifically approved in advance by the superintendent, building principal, or the designee. That concerns me a little bit, and I'll tell you why. That term strictly forbidden. Granted, my daughter's only going through first grade, but in the first kindergarten and first grade, I've communicated numerous times via text with my teacher. I'll text my teacher something. Hey, I need her to be car line instead of flight crew today, or maybe she'll text me and she's feeling sick and crying. Okay, I'm going to come in and get her. I'll talk to Miss Dewey on her cell phone, right? She would apply into this. So this seems to me where it says it's strictly forbidden. We're going to adopt a policy that we're either going to knowingly violate, people are going to knowingly violate, and it's going to be one that we just turn a blind eye to. And I don't like adopting a policy that we know we're going to violate and turn a blind eye to. Or we're going to have people getting written up left and right, and that could be used to, well, hey, this person's using their cell phone, and we can wind up with discipline issues with our staff. Or everyone in the staff is going to have to get a waiver from the superintendent or the building principal. So either one of those, I say, none of those seem right. So why are we going to adopt this policy where we know we're going to have an issue with it? I would prefer to, hey, let's get it right, where we say maybe personal use of cell phones, or however the language, however PPC would want to do it, whatever that language is, so we say, well, we get the language right. Yes, there is a use for cell phones, and we use them all the time. When I call Ms. Dewey, right, she would be violating this policy if I give her a phone call during the day. Right, so we say, so that to me is an issue. Why adopt a policy when we know we're going to have an issue with it? Let's change the language on it. No personal use. So now I call and talk to Ms. Dewey. That's not a personal use. If I text my teacher, my daughter's teacher, that's not personal use. So I don't want to necessarily vote against this and hold up all those other policies. So I may make a recommendation after we vote on this. But that's my concern about 3.34. I'm happy with everything else, but that's just the concern I have there, and I hope I expressed that appropriately.
Well, it's a valid concern. I do think it needs to reflect upon Section 8 of the policy as well, but that is already a policy that's in place. Like that's what the policy already says.
Been there, yeah.
So what I would recommend is we approve all of these, approve CPPC's recommendations next, and then taking advantage of policy 1.9, the board can tonight make a suggestion that we amend that sentence to match either CPPC's or whatever you guys would like, because in that policy, since it's a board proposal, would just come to PPC.
Okay.
And it's an easy little check, and it lets the ball keep rolling for all the other ones.
Sure.
Could, let's say that the board tonight was to approve this list, and then another motion was made to send 329 back, or maybe a suggestion, either way.
3
I'm sorry,
334.
334,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sent back. There's a couple different ways that could go, right? You could just, upon the suggestion of the board, within the next month, take 334 to PPC and bring back a revision, even without us, I'm sorry, without the board making any recommendations, so that PPC is able to make this sound the way they feel like it should.
Okay. Well, I think that's probably what I'll do
Couple
for the
options.
board. We'll vote on this, we'll look at section 8, and then I may make a motion
Okay.
to, we'll to send it back to PPC for the reconsideration or to reevaluate if that's what they want or not. Okay.
I'm a fan of leading by example. I think whatever the cell phone policy is should be the same for the teachers and the students. Do as I say, not as I do is not a good example for me.
I mean, I was thinking that same thing. If, you know, you may someday need to text your daughter in between classes, hey, you know, grandma was really sick and then we're gonna pick you up in 2 hours. That's in between classes.
The devil's advocate of that side, we all grew up without cell phones in school. We called
We
the school
did.
office and we said, hey, get to Miss Smith.
But now we're
Grandma's
texting
dying.
teachers what's going
I know.
on. So it's 2024.
And to that point, I could call the office, who will relay the message to my teacher instead of texting the teacher, if I made that conscious effort. But just any parent, hey, I'm gonna message the teacher.
It's because we're so used to it.
It's that instant
And then even so, the parent initiated it, and the teacher, well, because she looked at her phone to get that message,
Mhm.
because the parent
That's
didn't
a
call
deal.
the front
Yeah.
office, they could get written up, potentially, so.
So it's all your fault that the
It
teacher's
is.
getting written up.
That's what I was saying. It is.
I know,
Yeah.
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We are all attached to our phones, unfortunately.
Sure.
Okay, any further discussion?
I mean,
And
it's
watch it.
it's a hard.
It is a very
topic.
hard topic.
It
Every
is a
school
very hard
is
topic.
going through it.
Okay.
Right?
Schools,
know.
workplace.
Steve, can parents send messages through Canvas to the teachers?
Yes.
And the response time is fairly
They
quick?
can't text, so our cell phone providers, it doesn't work for the texting side of it, but it's an email, basically.
Okay.
There's a Canvas app that parents have and can message
Mhm.
through the Canvas app?
Yeah, come and email.
It's
So
more
if-
like a message in your Canvas, so I mean, which most teachers have their Canvas open all day anyway, so
Sure.
they would see like the little red thing pop up on their inbox or whatever.
We sync it with their Gmail too in our training, so it goes to their email inbox.
Good to know.
Okay, any other further discussion? Barring none, all in favor? 5-1. Right, yes, negative, okay. 5 positive, 1 negative. Still passes. Thank you, Mr. Engel. All right. Steve, request to approve policy update, section 8.
So same thing you've been hearing, a lot of them are ASBA updates. I will just talk about the cell phone, our 825 policy. We met Tuesday and kind of discussed that policy, so it was kind of a last minute thing, so I'll just kind of read. What we did is we took our original policy, which was literally 2 lines long. We're basically adopting the ASBA version, but we did keep it a mountain home policy, and we took basically what our line read and inserted it into the first line of that ASBA policy. So it was kind of a blend, and we struck through the strictly forbidden line. So it is kind of a blend of the policy, and so that might be something that PPC we can talk about and just, make those match. So our primary thing was getting rid of the 2-line policy and adopting the ASBA, the main verbiage, and the rest of what's in that policy. So, and I can, if you have any questions about specific ones, I can talk about those. Some of them are just verbiage changes. A few of them are we're trying to kind of get in line with the ASBA policies. So some of our, like the computer use policy was an old policy from 2006 that I think talked about VCRs. And, you know, the new ASBA policy, you know, is a 2-page policy that just, a lot of what was in our policy isn't relevant anymore. So, and then having that protection, if we can adopt an ASBA policy and have a little bit of that protection under that policy, is kind of what we're trying to do. And so some of those are basically replacing our old policies with the ASBA model policy.
All right, very good.
So I would recommend that you approve as presented on those policies.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Section 8 policy provisions as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Barring none, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Request to approve 24-25 Chromebook purchase.
So it's that time of the year again. We always do work on this every year, trying to figure out a different way to do it. And, you know, can we get by buying half as many this year? Can we, you know, and basically it all puts us in a bind just a couple years down the road, where if we buy one this year, we're gonna be stuck buying 3 in a couple years. So it's really worked out good the past, I mean, really 5-6 years, where we've done basically 2 grades worth every year. It kind of puts 8th grade on a rotation where they get a good 5 years out of theirs. In 2021, we started where we issue 3rd graders a set of new ones. So they, you know, 3rd graders get one that's a 5-year rotation to 8th grade, and then it happens again. They've extended some of the licensing on them, but we haven't really seen them last a whole lot longer than 5-6 years. Now, some of them they come back in great condition, we can reuse them, and some of them don't. So, you know, we save those for parts, we save those for reissues. You know, if we have, you know, particular issue with a student that, you know, is having trouble keeping theirs in decent shape, we may issue them a little bit older one for a while. So we don't have an overly abundance of them, enough to really cut the numbers. So we did the 325 per grade, and we don't, you know, incoming 3rd grade might be smaller than that, might be bigger than that, but we've got enough to kind of push either way. So we did this 650 again this year, Title I funds out of next year's budget. One thing we kind of did a little bit differently, and this is still, we may or may not do it, we're looking at the time frame of the green packaging. So what they do, all the Chromebooks, they come in individual boxes. We spend hours and hours. I mean, we do it really fast. I mean, I'm proud of how we can unbox them so fast. But unboxing them, you know, taking all the cardboard up 16th Street to the recycler, you know, we get rid of everything right away. So what they do is they ship all the Chromebooks to, you know, a warehouse, they unbox them, they put them into bulk packaging, and then they ship them to us. So that option is a few $1,000s, and I'd like to try it this year to see how much time it really saves us and how much trash and waste.
And money.
So, yeah. So I think it will definitely be worth it. But if it delays the Chromebooks getting here, then we won't do it. So that's what we're waiting to hear on. But with the green packaging, $178,100 is what we would be looking at for this year.
Is it cheap?
If you have
It's
any
cheaper.
questions, please ask, but that would be my recommendation to approve that.
I think we should have to unbox them.
I mean, we might.
Just out of spite.
You're gonna sign up that day, aren't you?
Because I've been there, I've done it.
You were boxing the CRT
We were,
monitors,
yeah,
though.
and then lugging them down the hallways.
Yep.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation as presented.
Thank you, Jason. Second?
Second.
Barbara, thank you. Any discussion? I have discussion.
Okay.
Why are we taking the cardboard to 16th Street?
Well, up to the Rossi Road to the local recycler.
They won't come pick it up? They pick mine up every
Well,
week.
It's probably a lot.
we've literally just filled a truck twice, and we run it up there and dump it off. We can fit 350 Chromebook boxes, or 325 in one pickup truck load, believe it or not.
Holy
And
smokers.
So we just, as we're unboxing them, we load the truck, we drive it up there, we back it right into their chute and unload it for them. And
That's good.
we've talked about
Okay.
getting the trailer
Yeah,
dropped off
yeah.
and all of that, and I mean, we may, but it's so efficient, really, how we do it.
Very good.
So,
That's all my discussion.
I have a question. It's not exactly pertaining to the bid here, but I was at the junior high last year, and there was a student at the junior high. His Chromebook was cracked, the screen was cracked. The student was distraught. My parents can't afford this. I don't know. I mean, he was really distraught. How does the district handle damaged Chromebooks, say in a situation like this?
if it's, and this is
Yeah.
gray area
Crashed.
both ways, but if it's an accidental breakage, we fix it.
Yeah, and he didn't know. He's like, I don't know how. I don't think I
And
did
it happens.
this.
I
And
mean,
it's
we do
right.
about 600 screen replacements a year.
Oh,
And
wow.
we probably charge for 10 or 20 of them. You know, if it's blatant damage, which you can tell if the screen has 4,000 jab marks, that didn't happen because it got squished in the bag. You know.
Punch the teacher's
So,
face on Zoom.
And we always talk to admin, like, you know, if there's the issue of Pinkston, that invoice goes to Justin. Justin knows that kid. If that kid can't pay, like, it's not the end of the world for us, you know. We're almost self-sufficient with parts right now, whereas Chromebooks go out of age, we harvest all of our own screens, so we don't have to buy any.
Wow.
We put those right back in. And same with chargers. Now that all the chargers are the same, we technically get a couple hundred extra a year that we don't use. So if someone's charger gets tore up or something happened, or they just lost it, all we ask for the students is just tell us the truth. Just tell us what happened. You know, if you got mad and you punched a screen, okay, well, let's talk about that. And we'll put a screen in it for you, you know.
You'll get mad.
And so, I mean,
And then we get mad, yeah.
Anger issues.
So, but we really try, I mean, we try not to invoice.
Sure.
I mean, it takes time to do that also and to track that stuff down, but if it's blatant, purposeful damage, I mean, we're gonna send an invoice, so, but.
We logged all of our repairs too. I pulled Steve with me to Hackler, because there was a huge uptick in certain repairs for one classroom. So we addressed it with that classroom. Steve was like, what? I was like, come on, here we go. So if, the same thing too, like if the kid's name shows up 5, 6, 7 times, you know, then
Gotcha.
you can see trends.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Constituent requests, oh, sorry. Oh.
Ms. House, I'd like to go back to the section 3.
Okay.
And several
That's
ways
what you're
this
talking
can be done. We could try to amend it, do an amendment, and send an amendment back. I think it's easier just for me to make a motion and so I'll do that. I'd like to make a motion to send policy 3.34 back to PPC to reconsider the language and perhaps make it the same as section 8's cell phone policy, just to reconsider the language in section 3.34. So that's my motion.
I'll second.
Do you know what you're seconding? Okay, good. Any discussion? We have to discuss if we need to.
So that is the cell phone section
Yes.
of the policy?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Just that one.
First line.
Okay.
Recommending it goes back to CPPC to consider
Right.
it, not to
PPC.
necessarily change
To
it, but to, hey,
PPC.
PPPC.
to reconsider that language that's in it. That's it.
Okay.
We've already adopted it tonight the way it is.
Any other discussion over that? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Booth. Okay, sorry about that. Constituent request to address the board, Mr. Myers.
Thank you for, again, allowing me to speak. Regretfully, I've had to come back. And sorry, I guess I'm losing my voice. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
sir.
Great. I had to come back. And I've indicated through the superintendent, and she has forwarded on to all of you, a letter I sent her. You all should have received that. And it basically goes back to a very simple situation. I'm sure you all know what this is. It's the Home Public Schools Policies and Procedures Manual. I guess it's your Bible as to how you operate and administer the school district. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Fine. The very first paragraph of the very first page to let you know why I've come back. Paragraph 1.1, Mountain Home legal status of the Board of Directors. You all, by the authority of Article 14 of the Arkansas Constitution, the General Assembly has provided that locally elected school boards will be responsible for the lawful operation and maintenance of its schools. That's the very first page. Now, in that letter that Allison sent on to you, I identified numerous violations of these policies. That particular policy is required by law under Arkansas Code Annotated 6-13-620. I don't know if that's a misdemeanor, a felony, or a scowl, but if it's a violation of the law to not legally operate and maintain the schools, that poses a problem that I think, now that I've presented it to the superintendent, it's up to you all to determine where my complaints have or will not go. Like I said, I'm back to repeat what I planned on talking about last month. But regretfully, I was interrupted. And I'm not going to go into the details of that, but it necessitated me filing a formal complaint with the Mountain Home Police Department. I am assured by officials in that department that the situation is under control and I will not have to worry about a second incident, and I'm sure you're well aware of the first incident. First incident was a year ago at the very first school board meeting I ever attended, having lived here since 2007. Allison and one other representative were aware of the circumstances, and all I can say is no citizen that comes before this panel exercising my First Amendment rights to free speech should have to worry about threats, intimidation, or harassment at a public meeting. You all know the reason why these meetings are public, I presume, although I probably shouldn't presume that. If you understood the meetings were public for a reason, the former superintendent and members that sit before me now should have fully understood the Freedom of Information Act and its full provisions. The fact that some of you met secretly, do we have a problem?
You have 30 seconds.
Well, here's the deal. The ball is in your court. All I can say, if you or someone, either the former superintendent or members of the school board, sent the Mountain Home Public Schools attorney to KTLO for an interview last May, during which he said your violations were inadvertent. Do we have any teachers present? Anybody who's a teacher here?
Mr. Myers, you have a few more seconds.
Okay, thank you.
What
Are you a teacher?
I was.
Okay, can you tell me the standard definition at the junior high level of inadvertent?
Well, I didn't go that high.
Okay, inadvertent means unintentional. The actions by the superintendent and the board were everything but unintentional. You met in secret, knowingly and willingly, and you violated the law.
Okay. We're going to have to cut you off there, but,
Yeah,
and we cannot.
I bet you will. I expect a full response to the complaints I filed. And And beyond that, I guess we'll leave it up to the prosecuting attorney at the county level that initiated the investigation by the sheriff's department that's been concluded and verified that there were violations. So there's got to be a little accountability.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Myers. We
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you so much for your input. And we have board discussion. Yeah, almost.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
We're all discussion?
Yep, board discussion. Anything you want to talk about?
Well, since with FOIA laws and everything being the way they are, the only way we can communicate with each other is basically right now.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I'm not sure if y'all are aware, there's a petition being signed for a vote on a constitutional amendment to change FOIA laws, which would stiffen them up. So if we got a request for FOIA, we would have 24 hours to comply generally. And a whole lot of other stiffening of FOIA laws. But as a general discussion, I would like to know if there's anything we can do to help our staff, the general office, to deal with some of the FOIA requests. I'm sure you all got things like this. This is from Mr. Robert, help me with his last name.
Weedling.
I don't know how many I've got, 40, 50. These are all certified. I don't know how many thousands he's spent to send these. Looking at them, it's almost a copy-paste with an accusation that it's all fire-related, it appears to me. Maybe y'all can help me out. The current one, I just opened today. There's a note here, photo one of an illegally parked car in a no parking fire lane at the high school. There are no approved no parking fire lane signs at the high school. Help me out. Is this the same man that came to our high school facility, parked in a fire lane, and claimed to be a state fire marshal?
Yes.
That happened? So is this the same man that went to another school district that was on camera claiming to be a school board member from Mountain Home?
Yes.
So these are facts.
These are facts.
I'm just wanting to confirm that.
Confirmed.
So of these, and now this, are we in violation? Is Mr. Knight still here?
Yeah.
Are we in violation of any fire codes at the moment?
No.
So I mean, I realize we have old facilities. So does that mean we have to comply with modern, if we built a new facility, do we have the same codes that we have to comply with? How does that work?
No, they'd be a lot more strict today.
So then we're current on everything.
Yes.
How much time have we spent on all these FOIA requests?
Thousands of taxpayer dollars, thousands of minutes, thousands of papers, a lot of money and time.
So is there any way we can, has anybody found out what this Mr., what's his name again?
Weedling?
Yeah, what he's actually wants?
Mm.
Have we asked? Have we asked him?
We've met with Mr. Wheeling, and we just provide what he needs, and we'll just continue to
Mhm.
do that as we've been asked. At this point, there's not much more we can give him, but when he does ask, if we have what he needs, we just provide. It's not open right now.
Well, I'd like to respond to.
You can't, this is a closed meeting in a
board
public
meeting. You can
place.
respond next month again if you'd like. That would be fine, but
Could you make sure that superintendent gets that?
I think people don't
petition.
understand that school board meetings are closed meetings to the public, in public. You have to get on the agenda as you did tonight. You are allowed 5 minutes. You had your 5 minutes. That's all we can give you.
Well,
You
it's
can,
a general discussion, you talked about a petition.
that is a
I believe-
board discussion,
okay, I
not,
believe-
it's a board
I
discussion, not
believe
an
it was
open
last
discussion.
year, if I'm correct, I believe Ms. Cotter would know better. We were accused of fraud. An accusation, a general accusation in social media. What was do you remember what the reason is that we include our check ledger in every month now in Was that part of the transparency we wanted to show the public?
Yes.
It's easy for someone in the public to accuse us of anything. Evidence is a different thing. If the public wants to make us look bad by accusations, you ask the right question to the right person, and it's very easy to start rumors on social media. I don't know if there's anything this board can help the staff that goes above and beyond and being kind and patient and helpful to solve some of these problems that I don't see. If it's an issue, we do not want unsafe buildings.
No, we wouldn't let that happen.
I mean, I trust your judgment. It's our job to look over the finances of this district. We have X amount of money to spend. If Mr. whatever, Bob, Robert, would like to donate some money, we could probably use it for, need smoke detectors, don't we? Or we need CO, or,
Carbon monoxide.
yeah.
CO2.
I mean, we have to upgrade something we'll be voting on here soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody wants to join my discussion, but.
Well, sure I will. Prior to the interruption, I was about to make some comments. I met with Mr. Wheeling, with Ms. Dewey, and because if you remember initially when we started getting letters, he was saying, hey, we're in violation of the fire code, but I wasn't getting any details. I was like, well, what fire code are we breaking? If there's a room for improvement, let's find out what it is, see if we can improve it, move on if we can improve safety. And so I kind of understood a little bit of his motivation during our meeting, where he talks about there was a big fire in Chicago back in the 50s at a Catholic church. It killed so many students and so many staff, and it numbered in the hundreds. And so that's his, hey, I don't want to see that happen again, right? That's his motivation. And so in our discussion, we're talking about our local fire marshal and the state fire marshal are the two regulatory agencies that come and inspect us and we answer to. Like, they are not telling us we have any violations. We get inspected by them, and if they provide, hey, you need to fix this, I have no doubt Mr. Knight will address that. And that was my discussion to him, was that we're being told that we're in compliance by the two agencies that oversee us. There's you saying you're not. Well, who are we looking at? Well, we have to look at our regulatory agency. So Mountain Home Fire Department and their fire marshal and the state fire marshal have said we're good several times. So that's what we have to, that's what we operate on.
Mm-hmm.
It's his prerogative. The law allows this. But to ask her what is his motivation and then how we respond to it. And I was disappointed to find out that he'd presented himself as a school board member in a different part of the state in an attempt to get some paperwork.
Which is a felony.
Yes. So I was very disappointed to hear that. But to answer your question, hey, why is he doing this? I don't know. I know what he has told us as to why he is doing this. So I think we have addressed his concerns through the state fire marshal and the Mountain Home Fire Department, fire marshals, and we're good. We've gotten thumbs up, and if they identify any deficiencies, I have no doubt that Ms. Dewey and Mr. Knight are going to address those.
Yes, sir.
So I feel comfortable with where we're at as a district in complying with our fire code.
Anybody else? Okay, superintendent's update.
So, year's coming to an end. Lots of celebrations. This afternoon, we honored 20 employees that are retiring from the district. And as I looked around, I thought, whoa, we're losing some long-time employees that have heavy hitters. Jason, you're exactly right. So, I hope each one of them knows how important they've been to our district, how thankful we are for how they've served our kids, our families, and our community.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday evening, during our senior awards, over $3 million in scholarships were announced.
Crazy.
It's a testament to our students' hard work and perseverance, and our teachers who have poured into those kiddos that have enabled them to be able to apply and be successful for those things. Our community did a fantastic job, as usual, supporting our students with local scholarships. Tomorrow night, graduation on the field at 7, barring weather.
If we have weather, we're gonna do our best to push that back to 8, get the seats dried off, and move on Friday night. Last resort is to move any ceremony to Saturday. That is last resort. We'll announce tomorrow if we're making any changes by 2 o'clock. And we just want to thank everybody, including the board, for patience as we get this finalized. I wish I could control the weather.
You can't.
I've been watching it. I was up at 4:30 checking. So we're watching really closely the hourly forecast, and it's looking a little better. So
It's going to blow over.
I would like to have a possibly have a special meeting for executive session, maybe early June. I'm looking at June 4th, possibly at 5:30. If you could look at your calendars and let me know individually if that's a possibility. If it is not, I will shoot back some other dates. We may have the policy at that point that we could run before executive session. That should be the only action item. Might have one more, but we can do it mid-June.
Okay.
But I do know that we're gonna have several. The quicker we can get our teachers set, the better.
Yeah.
And that is all I have.
Okay, very good. We are breaking for executive session to discuss personnel.